Bawumia saying he will do 50 plus, deputy ministers. He goes on to say that he's not going to even buy vehicles, that we're going to lease vehicles. How would that, impact positively expenditure?
Yes, because the government size is too big. If you look at the number of people working under the president, office of the president, presidential staffers, if you look at the size of government, it's just too much. I think that any government that attempt to reduce the size of government is making the right decision. I mean, we can use the money to do something else.
Well, we heard President Nunoo say that he was going to run a lean government. Then he comes and says, well, the size of the problem on hand needs big, hands to be able to fix it.
Yeah, so if Dr. Bawumia is saying that he's going to do that, and he means it, that is fine. My only problem has to do with his elimination of taxes when we are seeking to achieve fiscal consolidation. And I have always maintained that there is a very short but powerful statement in the budget we formulated last year, for example, that tax to GDP ratio is 13%. The government is striving hard to achieve 18 to 20%. And Dr. Bawumia is a part of this government. We should not run away from that fact. And so if Dr. Bawumia is attempting to eliminate these taxes and he's not giving us any better option, all that he's talking about is we are going to broaden the tax base and industrialize it. Yes, those things have been on the table for a long time. So if that is the case, what happens to our quest to achieve a higher tax to GDP ratio? Probably 18, 20%. What happens to that? And the IMF is seriously interested in that, because the IMF has always trumpeted the fact that Ghana has not been doing well with regards to fiscal consolidation. And I also agree. Look at the amount of budget deficit we had been doing over the past years. It is just last year we did our best. But before last year, we were running, at a point, we were even doing 14% deficit. And so if Dr. Bawumia is saying that he would like to remove these taxes, then obviously he's attempting to tell us that this system of Bank of Ghana doing monetary financing and the government running huge deficits would obviously be seen again. And so Dr. Bawumia must come well. But as fine economist as he is, I know he'll be that, careful with the economy. But he has not given us much reasons, especially with his experience in government, for us to trust him that much.
The things he touched on, the vision is so broad and there are so many. I'm looking at the time right now. We're really running out of time. One of the things he talked about that also caught my attention is something he calls the developing a credit system for Ghana. He says, ladies and gentlemen, in advanced economies, workers are able to easily access credit to purchase basic items such as television, cars, and houses. They are able to do so because the credit system works and it is supported by individualized credit scoring by credit rating agencies. In Ghana, such a credit system is yet to develop, and therefore life is harder for workers. This credit system he talks about, how prudent is it?
It's very prudent. I agree with him 100%. Very, very prudent. You see, there was a time we have credit rating agencies, credit bureaus in the system, but they are not efficient, especially before the introduction of the Ghana card system. The National Identification Authority rolled their policies out. You could go to the bank and David Akwete, about 4 people by that name, and so when you go to a bank to take, say, loan, they go to the credit bureaus and they type in your name. You see so many David Akwete there, and sometimes they get confused whether you are not one of them. But now that we have specific identity, and when Bawumia dwells on identifying people, specific identity for people, I see it as a very important thing. I mean, it's a very wise thing that we are doing as a nation. We need to really establish the identity of people so that even in terms of crimes, in terms of credit worthiness and everything, we'll be able to hold people to it. Look, elsewhere, if you borrowed from a bank, do you know that the banks have been suffering from bad debts?
Yeah. Oh, I know of some nurses who have taken loans, have relocated to the UK and not paying their loans.
Yes.
But that is why we have the guarantee system. If you want to go alone, somebody would have to be somebody who's guaranteeing, a referee kind of. So if you don't pay, the person can be held.
No, sometimes the guarantor also doesn't have identity. So just as the person taking the loan may have problem with identity, the guarantor could also have same. And so you see, elsewhere, if you took a loan and they wrote it off for you, you can't be even an assembly member because you cannot be trusted. You don't have integrity. And it's because they can identify you. because it's biometric and you cannot run away from it. But here, someone can go for a loan of say 1 million Ghana cedis and still become the president of Ghana, because we don't have any system to even check his background in that regard. And so, if we have such a system, I think it will help us a lot. It's one of the best policies.
But these things, I mean, we've had politicians make promises, in their manifestos and all that. Give them the power, the opportunity, and then they disappoint big time. And if I'm still going through the document, I'm still going through the speech. Very fine things. For example, under housing for all policy, he has a housing for all policy. Says, I will also have a major focus on the provision of public housing in the same manner that Singapore did. We'll partner with the private sector to build large housing estates without the government having to borrow or spend. Also, the National Rental Assistance Scheme, blah blah blah, is ongoing. I mean, so fine ideas, but how do we ensure, be it JM, be it Bawumia, whoever, that the promises that they're making, the pledges that they're making, the assurances that they're giving, given the opportunity, they will still roll out these things?
Yes, but Dr. Bawumia for now cannot be trusted that much because of his posture in government. Look, Dr. Bawumia is one of the reasons people voted for NPP.
Yes,
he spoke so well.
I agree.
In fact, if at the time,
answers to all the problems.
Yes, at the time, and Dr. Bawumia is a very intelligent person. He has nice publications. I started using his publications, his write-ups undergrad. So Dr. Bawumia is a very fine economist. He's very intelligent. But when it comes to his experience in managing the economy, to be a vice president isn't a joke. Even ministers, we are holding ministers accountable. How much more a whole vice president? And so what happened with the affordable housing system? Didn't he have any advice for the government in that sense? So for now, it's difficult to trust Dr. Bawumia, as fine as he is.
Let's do this. Our time is really run out. So what we'd rather do, normally we'd have picked phone calls.